Across the planet, one immense stretch of blue quietly influenced the rhythm of life itself.
From above, everything appears peaceful. Yet beneath this calm surface lies a constantly moving world of energy, heat, and motion. For most of the time, this enormous system follows a natural rhythm that has shaped Earth's climate for countless generations. But when this hidden balance shifts, the consequences can travel far beyond the place where the change begins. The first signs are subtle, a small rise in warmth spreading through tropical waters, almost invisible from above.
Heat stored beneath the surface can remain hidden for months before revealing its influence.
Above these waters, the atmosphere begins responding to changes it cannot see. Every cloud, every current, and every movement of air is connected through a delicate planetary conversation.
Even the smallest forms of life respond when the conditions around them begin to change.
The greatest effects of this hidden transformation may appear far from the place where it starts.
The boundary between water and air is constantly exchanging energy, creating patterns that shape the world below. Invisible movements beneath the surface can influence events happening thousands of kilometers away. Before understanding disruption, we must first understand the balance that came before it. For generations, these winds have helped maintain one of Earth's greatest climate engines.
Driven by persistent winds, warm waters gather far from where they originally began. These warm regions become centers of life, powered by the energy stored in the upper layers of the sea.
Far away, another process brings hidden nutrients upward from the depths.
This movement creates the foundation for one of the most productive marine environments on Earth.
From microscopic organisms to larger animals, countless lives depend on this invisible rhythm.
A small change in the atmosphere can begin a chain reaction beneath the surface. The change is still invisible to most of the planet, but the first pieces of a much larger transformation are already falling into place.
Beneath the surface, energy begins moving along a new path.
The atmosphere does not react instantly. It responds to a process unfolding quietly over time.
A small disturbance in one region can eventually influence distant continents.
This is how a hidden ocean process begins to write a new chapter in Earth's weather. Life beneath the surface depends on conditions that can change long before the effects become visible. The smallest organisms often reveal the earliest signs of a changing environment. When the foundation changes, every level of the ecosystem begins to adjust.
The influence of these waters extends far beyond the creatures living within them.
Heat and moisture become part of a global conversation between sea and sky. The atmosphere carries the influence of distant waters across enormous distances. A transformation that begins in the Pacific can eventually be felt across the entire planet.
But this event does not appear suddenly. It grows slowly, building strength over time. A delicate balance beneath the waves is beginning to shift. These hidden movements shape conditions that influence the world above.
The size of this system is difficult to imagine, yet its influence reaches every corner of the globe. The first chapter of this transformation begins not with destruction, but with a quiet rearrangement of nature's forces. Every living system must respond when the environment around it begins to transform.
The signs are subtle, but the consequences will become impossible to ignore.
For now, the planet sees only a beautiful ocean. Hidden beneath that beauty is a powerful change taking place.
The true story is written beneath the surface, where heat begins its long journey.
A single region of unusual warmth can become the beginning of a global pattern. The event has not reached its peak, but the first warning signs have already appeared. To understand what comes next, we must first look deeper into the natural engine that controls this region.
Before the world feels the power of El Niño, we must understand the delicate rhythm that existed before the change began.
Before a disturbance can be understood, we must first discover the remarkable machine that keeps the Pacific in balance.
For countless years, invisible movements of air have guided the rhythm of this enormous region.
These persistent winds act like a giant conveyor, pushing warm surface waters toward the western side of the basin.
Driven by the winds above, the upper waters begin a journey across thousands of kilometers. Here, heat gathers and creates one of the most important climate regions on Earth. The warmth stored in these waters provides energy for both life below and weather above. Rising heat feeds towering clouds, creating a connection between the surface and the atmosphere. This region receives enormous amounts of moisture, shaping climates across nearby continents. Across this vast distance, every movement of water plays a role in the planet's climate system.
Beneath the waves, another hidden engine is constantly transporting energy.
Far away from the warm western region, a completely different process takes place.
From the depths comes a movement that brings nutrients from the hidden world below.
These tiny organisms become the foundation of an entire chain of life.
But where nutrients rise, life follows.
A single movement from the deep can support thousands of species. Above the surface, the signs of this hidden abundance become visible.
Every creature depends on a balance created by forces it cannot control.
Together, these processes create a powerful, natural rhythm. For years, this pattern repeats with remarkable consistency.
The separation between warm surface waters and deeper cold layers maintains the balance of this system.
This harmony has shaped weather, ecosystems, and human history for generations.
When conditions remain steady, life adapts and flourishes.
But even the strongest natural systems can be influenced by small changes.
A system this powerful can also become vulnerable when its rhythm begins to shift.
Soon, this carefully balanced machine will begin to change, and the first signs of El Niño will emerge. For thousands of years, this hidden circulation has acted like a heartbeat, transferring energy through one of Earth's largest environments. Every current carries information about temperature, movement, and the changing state of the planet. Above the surface, the atmosphere responds to patterns created far below. These predictable patterns allow ecosystems and landscapes to adapt over generations.
Beneath the waves, Stability creates opportunities for countless forms of life.
At the beginning of every marine food chain are microscopic organisms responding to their environment. These small movements create a foundation that supports larger communities. The abundance of the sea depends on a balance that has developed over immense periods of time. Above the water, the effects of this hidden productivity become visible.
Every level of life is connected through a delicate exchange of energy.
The Pacific functions as a single connected system, even though its parts are separated by thousands of kilometers.
For most years, this enormous system remains remarkably predictable. The difference between these regions creates a powerful engine that drives global weather patterns. A process unfolding across this distance can influence places far beyond the horizon. Deep beneath the surface, boundaries between different layers of water help maintain this balance.
When deep waters reach the surface, they bring essential resources that support entire ecosystems.
These invisible organisms become the first link in a chain that reaches across the living world.
A change in these conditions can influence everything from tiny organisms to larger marine animals.
This rhythm has continued for generations, shaping life both above and below the surface.
But natural systems are never completely still. They are always moving toward change.
The first signs of disruption begin with small shifts that are difficult to recognize.
When the forces that maintain balance begin to weaken, the entire system starts to reorganize. Heat that once remained concentrated in one region begins a slow journey across the basin.
A transformation has begun beneath the surface, setting the stage for one of Earth's most influential climate events.
The balance that shaped the Pacific for generations is beginning to change. The next chapter reveals how El Niño transforms a quiet shift into a global force.
The winds that once guided the movement of warm waters begin losing their strength. Without the same driving force above, the water below begins to follow a different path. Heat that once gathered far away begins returning toward the center of the basin. This redistribution of warmth becomes one of the defining signals of El Niño. Deep below the surface, a hidden boundary begins to shift. The nutrients, once delivered from the depths, begin to decrease.
The smallest organisms often reveal the earliest consequences of a changing environment. When the foundation of the food chain changes, every level above it must respond.
Changes beneath the waves eventually become visible above the surface.
As the sea changes, the atmosphere begins adjusting its own behavior.
A shift in one region begins influencing the movement of air across an entire hemisphere.
Warm water provides energy, and the atmosphere responds by changing where clouds and rainfall develop.
The places receiving rainfall begin to change as the system reorganizes.
For marine life, temperature is not just a number. It determines where survival is possible.
Even small variations can influence the balance of entire ecosystems.
A region once powered by deep nutrients begins experiencing a very different reality. The transformation is no longer limited to the water. The atmosphere has joined the process. A signal that began in the Pacific begins traveling across the planet. The movement of heat influences where storms form and where rain eventually falls.
The hidden changes beneath the surface continue driving events above.
What began as a subtle shift has now become a global climate pattern.
The difference may appear small, but its influence can extend across oceans and continents.
The sea has changed its rhythm, and every connected system must now adapt. El Niño has been born. Now, the world begins to feel the consequences of a warming ocean. The event is no longer a hidden disturbance. The atmosphere and the sea have begun moving together in a new pattern.
As heat spreads across the surface, the sky above begins to reorganize.
Rain follows energy, and energy follows the movement of warmth beneath the surface. Communities connected to these waters begin experiencing a climate pattern they did not create.
Below the surface, a different story is unfolding.
When the smallest organisms decline, the effects travel upward through the entire food chain. Many creatures begin searching for conditions that once existed elsewhere.
The search for survival creates movement throughout the living world.
Above the surface, signs of change appear among animals that depend on the sea below. The influence of El Niño reaches far beyond the coastline.
A shift in tropical waters can redirect patterns that shape weather across continents.
High above Earth, the atmosphere carries the consequences of changes that began thousands of meters below.
Some places receive unexpected rainfall, while others begin to lose the moisture they depend on.
A change in the ocean can quietly remove the water supply from distant lands.
Elsewhere, the same force can bring extraordinary amounts of water. The source remains the same, a transformation within the largest connected body of water on Earth. El Niño is not a storm. It is a change in the conditions that create storms and weather.
Its power comes from influencing the stage where weather events are born.
The movement of energy beneath the waves continues shaping events above. For marine life, a warmer world can transform familiar habitats into challenging environments.
Even ancient ecosystems must adapt when their surroundings change.
A local shift has become a planetary scale influence. The signal that began in tropical waters continues traveling through the global climate system. The transformation is complete, but its greatest impacts are still ahead. A hidden change beneath the waves has now become a force capable of reshaping weather across the world. The hidden transformation beneath the waves has now reached the skies above, changing where and when rain falls around the world. Rain is one of the first signals that reveals how deeply this climate shift can affect the planet. For some regions, the arrival of El Niño means the disappearance of a resource essential for every living thing. Without regular rainfall, ecosystems begin facing pressure that can last for months or even years. Water systems that once appeared permanent can become vulnerable when atmospheric patterns change.
Plants respond first, but the consequences soon move through the entire ecosystem. Every species depends on a rhythm of seasons that can be disrupted by distant forces. The absence of rain can be just as powerful as the arrival of a storm.
When landscapes lose moisture, the risk of extreme events increases. Even after destruction, nature begins the long process of rebuilding.
But the same force that removes rain from one region can deliver extraordinary amounts somewhere else.
When the atmosphere reorganizes, some places become centers of intense precipitation. A sudden increase in water can transform landscapes within hours. The same climate pattern that creates drought elsewhere can bring overwhelming water here.
Water follows the new patterns created by a changing atmosphere.
The influence of El Niño extends from the atmosphere back toward the coastlines.
Above the surface, powerful weather systems reveal the energy stored below.
These patterns are not isolated events. They are connected parts of a global process.
The planet can experience opposite extremes at the same time.
A disturbance that began in tropical waters can influence distant environments thousands of kilometers away.
Climate is a connected story written across many different places.
Every ecosystem carries the memory of the conditions that sustain it.
The influence of El Niño demonstrates how closely every region of the planet is connected. At the center of this worldwide transformation remains the same hidden source. The story of El Niño is not only about weather, it is about how one changing system can influence the entire living planet. The energy stored within these waters continues traveling upward, influencing the atmosphere and shaping the storms that follow. Warm seas provide the fuel that allows powerful weather systems to grow. But the strength and direction of these storms depend on many invisible forces working together. The winds surrounding a storm can determine whether it strengthens, weakens, or changes its path.
A disturbance in tropical waters can influence weather patterns far beyond the region where it began.
For coastal environments, these changes can bring powerful consequences. The boundary between land and sea becomes one of the first places where these forces are felt.
The atmosphere carries the influence of tropical waters across enormous distances.
Seasons that once followed familiar patterns can begin to behave differently.
When rainfall changes, the effects reach the systems that depend on predictable seasons. Water connects every environment, from mountain streams to distant seas.
The influence of this event is not limited by borders or continents. One region's transformation can become another region's unexpected weather. While the atmosphere responds above, life beneath the waves faces its own challenges. Temperature changes that seem small can create major consequences for sensitive ecosystems. Every species responds differently when the environment around it changes. Some creatures move toward new areas, while others struggle to survive where they remain. The same forces that reshape clouds can also influence life beneath the waves. El Niño reveals how closely every part of Earth's climate system is connected. After every disruption comes a period of adjustment and recovery.
The source of this global influence remains hidden beneath the surface.
Understanding this connection allows scientists to better prepare for the changes ahead. El Niño is not only a story of weather, it is a story of a planet connected by one vast and changing system.
The influence of a changing sea reaches far beyond rainfall. It also shapes the powerful storms that travel across our planet.
Every storm begins with a combination of energy, moisture, and atmospheric conditions. The heat stored in these waters provides one of the essential ingredients for powerful weather. But storms are controlled not only by warmth. Invisible winds above can determine their future.
Small changes in the atmosphere can transform the path and intensity of a storm.
The atmosphere responds to conditions created across thousands of kilometers. A shift that began near the equator can influence weather far beyond tropical waters. The effects of El Niño are measured not only in temperatures, but in the lives and landscapes it touches.
While the skies above are transforming, another story is unfolding beneath the waves. For many species, temperature determines where they can survive.
Even small changes in temperature can challenge ecosystems that developed over centuries.
When familiar environments change, many creatures begin searching for new places to live.
Movement becomes a natural response to a changing world. The search for food connects distant regions of the sea.
At the smallest scale, changes begin that can influence the entire marine food web.
Every level of life depends on what happens far below the surface. The effects of a climate event can travel through every link of the ocean's living network.
Above the waves, animals reveal the hidden changes happening below.
Even the largest creatures are connected to the smallest changes in their environment.
The sea functions as a network where every part influences another.
The movement of heat continues shaping conditions across the entire basin.
What happens in one part of the planet can create consequences somewhere completely different.
Nature does not remain unchanged. It responds, adjusts, and continues.
The true power of El Niño is revealed through these connections. A change beneath the waves can become a story written across the entire planet. The influence of a changing climate reaches every corner of this underwater world, from the smallest organisms to the largest creatures.
For many species, changing conditions mean searching for new paths through an unfamiliar environment.
When one species moves, countless others are affected by the same chain of change.
The movement of water determines where nutrients travel and where life can gather. At the beginning of the food chain, even tiny organisms respond to the shifting conditions around them. The smallest changes can eventually influence entire communities. Every creature occupies a place within a much larger network. The health of these underwater cities depends on a narrow range of conditions.
When their surroundings change, survival requires adaptation.
Movement becomes one of nature's oldest responses to environmental change.
This enormous environment connects thousands of species through invisible pathways.
The boundary between the sea and the sky is not a barrier. It is a bridge.
Two worlds move together, influencing one another every moment.
Even after disruption, nature continues searching for balance. Recovery begins slowly, guided by the same forces that shaped life for millions of years. The story of El Niño is ultimately a story of connection.
Every climate event leaves behind lessons about how Earth's systems interact.
The planet does not stop changing. It continues adapting with every new cycle.
Understanding these patterns gives humanity the ability to prepare for what comes next.
The more we understand these hidden connections, the better we can protect the world they influence. The ocean has revealed its power. The final question is how we learn to listen. For generations, this immense body of water carried signals that humanity was only beginning to understand. Today, scientists study these signals to better understand the changing rhythm of the planet.
Invisible movements of heat and water can now be observed through advanced technology. Each measurement adds another piece to the complex story of climate.
Understanding these patterns allows communities to prepare for possible changes before they arrive.
Early knowledge can help protect regions facing drought and water shortages. The same understanding can also help societies prepare for extreme rainfall and rising waters. Preparation begins with recognizing the connections that link every part of Earth. Even after an event ends, the ocean continues carrying the memory of what happened.
Life beneath the waves follows cycles of disturbance, adjustment, and recovery.
Nature possesses a remarkable ability to adapt when given the opportunity. The planet functions as one interconnected system where every movement matters. The story of El Niño is ultimately a story about connection. Much of this world remains hidden, but its influence surrounds us every day. The relationship between water and atmosphere continues shaping the future of our planet.
Understanding this relationship is one of the greatest challenges and discoveries of modern science.
The largest ocean on Earth continues sending signals that reveal the state of our world.
Every current, every wave, and every living creature is part of a much larger story.
For those who learn to listen, the planet reveals the patterns hidden within its movements. The future depends on understanding these connections before the next transformation begins. The ocean has always been speaking. The question is whether humanity is ready to listen. Every cycle of change leaves behind knowledge. Every movement of water tells a story about the planet we share.
The size of this system reminds us that even distant events can have global consequences.
Beneath the waves, energy continues moving through pathways that remain mostly invisible. The boundary between the atmosphere and the sea is constantly exchanging energy. Understanding these patterns allows us to recognize the warning signs hidden within nature. Modern science gives us new ways to observe changes that were once impossible to detect.
Knowledge transforms uncertainty into preparation.
After periods of disruption, nature begins the slow process of renewal. Water returns, ecosystems respond, and life continues adapting. Beneath the surface, recovery follows its own rhythm. The smallest forms of life often reveal the strength of the entire system.
From tiny organisms to enormous creatures, every life form remains connected to the changing environment.
Weather is not created in isolation. It is the result of countless interactions across the planet. The same waters that create powerful changes also support extraordinary beauty.
Much of this world remains unexplored, yet its influence reaches every living thing.
The story of El Niño is a reminder that Earth operates as one connected system.
A change that begins in a remote region can become a message felt around the world. The forces of nature are not enemies to overcome, but systems to understand.
The more we understand these hidden patterns, the better we can live alongside them. Every wave, every current, and every cloud carries part of a much larger story.
The hidden world beneath the surface continues shaping the world above.
The ocean does not simply react to Earth's climate. It helps create it. Understanding this connection may be one of humanity's greatest challenges and discoveries. From the smallest movement beneath the waves to the largest changes across continents, every part of Earth is connected.